everyone, and welcome to my April Magical Readathon TBR. We're heading into April now, so it's time to talk about my April TBR. Now, usually I would be doing TBR Assemble to figure out what books I'm reading, but considering this month is also the month of the Magical Readathon, I decided to skip it this month just to make things a little bit less complicated because there are a lot of prompts I need to do for the Necromancer career. So with that out of the way, let's get into exactly what I'm reading for all of the prompts for that career. My first prompt is Animal Studies, which is to steal a book of another person's TBRs, and luckily I am actually co-hosting a read-along right now, which means I can actually steal a book of Abby, Hannah, Olivia and Emma's TBR, and that is Monsters of Men by Patrick Ness. This is the final one in the Chaos Walking trilogy, which is the story of Todd, who is a young boy on a world that is completely and utterly made up of men. There are no women, and every man has the noise, which basically means that they can hear everybody else's thoughts in a never-ending stream. It doesn't matter if they're human or animal, they can hear each other's thoughts. And what happens when one day Todd comes across a patch of land that is completely silent, and also there is a girl there. The story has moved on very far from that since then, but that is the basic premise of the series. This series is so well done. It is such a good look into toxic masculinity and unlearning that, the effects of war and colonialism and all of this kind of thing. It is done absolutely brilliantly well. It is heartbreaking, it is incredibly dark, but so well done, and I've been so excited to get to this final book, especially after reading the second one and it ending on a massive cliffhanger, and I'm now really excited to finally get to this one, even if it is an absolute chunker and I'm a little bit scared of the size of it, but still very excited to see how this is all gonna end. Next up is Inscription, which means I need to read the first line of 3 separate books and pick which one sounds the most interesting, and how I'm going to do this is I'm going to be using this prompt to pick my Thunderbolts comics. And the Thunderbolts, if you don't know, are a team of morally great villainous characters being forced to team up together to deal with various threats in the Marvel Universe, and obviously I'm going to be reading stuff like this in the lead up to the Thunderbolts movie, which is coming out at the beginning of May, and this is my research for it. I'm not entirely sure which ones I'm going to read yet. I've got a vague list, but I'm probably not going to have time to read all of them, so I'm using this prompt to kind of streamline that and figure out which ones I'm going to be reading specifically. Next up is Spells and Incantations, which is to read a book that has a word in the title from the last book you read, and the last thing I read was Daredevil by Charles Soule, which is quite lucky because I need to be continuing on with that series, so I'm using this prompt to continue on with reading Daredevil by Charles Soule, which is actually the inspiration for Daredevil Born Again, the TV show, which is why I'm reading it. Next up was Conjuration, which was to use a random country generator to generate 5 countries, pick one of them, and then find an author from that country and read that book. One of the countries I managed to generate was Korea, so I've decided to go for Dragon Pearl by Yoon-Ha Lee. I don't really know much about what this book is about. I just know that it's a middle grade, and I think it's a sci-fi, if I remember rightly, and I've had a lot of people really raving about it, and I've been interested in it for a while, so that is what I'm going for. Next up was Restoration, which is to read a book with a 4-star average rating, so I'm going for Such Big Teeth by Gabby Hutchinson Crouch. This is a middle grade set in a world where all of the fairy tales basically exist with each other. I've read the first book in this series and really enjoyed it. It gave me real Terry Pratchett vibes, and I've been meaning to continue on with the series ever since, so I'm going to be doing that now. Next up was Lore, which is to read a book with a musical term in the title, like song, note or anything else, so I eventually found Radio Silence by Alice Oseman, because obviously you play music through the radio and silence is also a part of music, so I'm kind of counting it. It's probably stretching the prompt a little bit, but I really did not have anything else for this, and also I've been meaning to read Alice Oseman's other works outside of Heartstopper for a really long time, and this one was one of the books I recently got, so I figured I'd put it on the list. Next up was Demonology, which is to read a book with a missing person, so I'm going for The Bad Ones by Melissa Albert, and this one on the top just says, a game gone wrong, a town full of secrets, a missing friend. So it definitely counts for the missing person prompt. I know nothing else about this book. I don't really want to know anything else about this book because I like to go into Melissa Albert's books without any kind of knowledge because I find I enjoy them more that way, and I just know that I'm really excited for this one because I know I really like Melissa Albert's writing, so very excited to see what she's going to do with this one. And And then the final prompt I have is shapeshifting, which is to read a book that has a dragon either in the title, on the cover, or in the story. So I'm going for This Ends in Embers by Camilla Cole, which is the sequel to So Let Them Burn. And I know I really enjoyed the first one in this series. I thought it was absolutely fantastic, and I've been desperate to see how it all ends, and now is the time to finally do that. So very excited to finally be reading this one. And then finally, I also have the rest of my Thunderbolts reading, because I don't just want to read about the team, I want to read about the individual members. So for Yelena, I also have White Widow and then Black Widow, Pale Little Spider. I've also got Widowmakers and Winter Guard for Yelena and Alexei. For Bucky, I've also got the Winter Soldier Complete Collection, Captain America and Bucky, the life story of Bucky Barnes, Winter Soldier by Kyle Higgins, and Winter Soldier The Bitter March. And then finally for Sentry, I've got Age of Sentry and Sentry by Paul Jenkins. And this is my stack for the Magical Readathon. So I've got a nice kind of mix of stuff in here, because I've got dystopians, I've got slightly maybe spooky fantasy mystery type things if I go by Melissa Albert's other works, I've got dragons, I've got contemporaries, I've also got fairy tale retellings, so middle grades and also middle grade sci-fis, and then obviously all of my comics as well. So it feels like a nice kind of mix of genres and things like this, so very excited to get going with it. And that is where I'm going to leave this video, because that stack was getting quite heavy to hold. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please do give me a thumbs up. Comment down below, tell me what you're reading in the month of April, I'd love to know. Or if you don't have that much time, leave me a skull emoji for the necromancers down below to let me know that you were here. I'll also leave a link as well down below to all my social media if you want to check it out, including to the Comic Book Sanctum, which is my website dedicated to Marvel Comics, which is currently filled with all things Daredevil, and will soon be also filling up with all things Thunderbolts in the lead up to the movie if you are interested in that. Or if books are more your thing, I'll also leave a link as well down below to my Bookish Etsy store that sells bookish merch and Notion templates if you want to treat yourself to something bookish today, or to organise your life via Notion this year. Or if you just want to see any more of my videos, please click subscribe here, and over here will be the link to my previous video. But until next time everyone, bye!